All right, we're back with Dr. Clayton Wilcox from the Washington County Public School System. Colin, you have the next question, sir.
I do. So I understand, without probing too much, that the one of our board members may potentially become the Maryland Association Boards of Education's person coming up. What exactly does that mean for Washington County?
Well, I think it's a good thing for us. Mrs. Brightman will become the president of MABE, which is Maryland Association of Boards of Education. It means that really she's going to have access to legislators, to the political process, if you will, that may really help us a lot. Donna is, I think, a strong advocate for public education. Yes. Having her in Annapolis, talking with leaders, having her go to other school districts, get great ideas, bring them back. I think those are all positive things for us. Our relationship with MABE has been strong. They've helped us to advocate for a number of legislative changes that we've chased, and I think it's going to be a good thing for our community.
Perfect.
Ken?
So I know there's been some concern about cost shifting, especially around pensions, from the state to county in recent years. Can you give us a little bit of an update on where we're at on that?
Well, I can. One of the things that has taken place recently is there was about $19 million that had been kind of corralled down in Annapolis that the governor was hopefully going to release. I understood earlier today he decided that he was not going to release those funds. That means that this district has about a $470,000 shortfall of pension money that we were anticipating coming to us. We'll have to find a way to kind of rebalance our budget going forward. We probably won't really spend too much time looking at that until we see how we've done in the first quarter, but we're going to be conservative, obviously. The direct kind of challenge to us then becomes, if we know we've got this hole in our budget already, then we're going to be much more thoughtful than perhaps even normal when it comes to allocating staff positions when we have enrollment bubbles, which is particularly important at the beginning of the year because, as kids show up in places that you might not expect them to show up, or you have kids that move into the county, you try to address that with some contingency positions. We have very thin margin for that, and it got even thinner today.
Wow.
So that does sound like a lot of money that we just missed out on. But can you give us a little bit larger scope as far as how large the actual Washington County school system's budget is?
Well, our overall budget, when you take a look at everything, we're about a $300 million business. Right. But we're about $260,000 in terms of general fund revenues. So that $500,000 really comes out of that $260 million. In some ways, it's not a great deal of money. I know it is to a lot of viewers who are saying, give me $500,000, I'm a happy camper. Right. But in terms of the overall budget, it's not perhaps impossible for us to make up. One of the things that we have to always look at is what's the average cost of a teacher in the district. And when you look at an average teacher, the salary of $50,000 or $60,000 only tells about 60% of the story, because then we have another benefits load on top of that. So, we look at the average teacher costing between $75,000 and $80,000 in the district. So, again, you balance that against the scale of $460,000 or $470,000. Right. It's perhaps 5 or 6 units.
Right.
Okay. But and it's an already tight budget, I'm sure.
It is a very tight budget this year. You'll remember that one of the things that we're caught up in right now is ongoing negotiations with our teachers, and we haven't settled, and one of the key sticking points is salary. So we're facing a mediator in the next few weeks as soon as the Labor Relations Board says that we've actually reached impasse. And so, these are tough financial times for us.
Was that an accurate assessment in the paper that you paid off, $680,000 for the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts? I think that was a year. Was that, it said operating, was that out of operating or capital?
Yeah, some years ago when the Barbara Ingram School was funded, the deal that was made was that we would pay a lease payment, which was really kind of a lease to own, if you will, to the 50c3 that was established. And that money, $642,000 a year, was coming directly out of our operating budget. So the fact that we were able to accumulate about $5.5 million in our fund balance and then pay that off really gives us a lot of breathing room. And in fact, I think the other positive thing, it saves hundreds of thousands of dollars in deferred interest that we would have had. So, from a business perspective, I think it was absolutely the right thing to do to get out from under that debt. Now that operating money flows into the district, and so we'll go forward with that.
Now, is that $642,000 spoken for? Was that budgeted, or is that if I'm a negotiator and come back to you and say, hey, you got $642,000 left over, or is that not counted? Was that counted before June 30th?
No, it wasn't counted. We started to talk about it within our budget planning. I think if I were on the teacher side, I would say that money's in play. If I were on the support staff, I would say that money's in play. But the reality is that we are challenged financially in a number of ways. I mean, one of the things I'd like to do is use it to help us fund some of our technology initiatives, because it is an expensive proposition to get into this business, not in terms of just leasing or purchasing the PCs or the iPads, but in terms of making the infrastructure behind the scenes work.
Absolutely. Colin, did you have a follow-up?
I did, and being a father or a parent of a child that's been through Washington County schools for now 10 years in a row, I think that Washington County Schools does an amazing job in terms of balancing their budget, but also providing a very good quality of education. And comparing my experience, which was going up through PG County schools, Montgomery County schools, and Frederick County schools, I think Washington County does a very good job, and I'm sure Jim, being the father of 3 kids in the local school system, would agree with me.
Yep. Not a question, but I'm happy to ring the bell anytime. Colin, Dr. Wilcox, I had a question about hiring. So unemployment rates are down, and clearly salaries are probably better for teachers and administrators and general staff near the city. But I know just in the last couple of weeks, I've met some folks that are what I consider to be well-qualified hires that the school system has been able to do. What attracts candidates to Washington County?
I think quality of life is the first thing. I think Washington County is a great place to live. I think it's a great place for people to work. 2 out of the past 3 years, we've been voted the best place to work in Washington County. We try to treat all of our employee members as team members as opposed to employees. I think our benefits plan is outstanding for our employees. We adopt a family first mentality, so that we say to our teachers, we say to our administrative team and our staff members, family comes first. And so I think that resonates with people when they understand that we're a caring organization. So and quite honestly, I just think right now that people see the technology initiative, they see our new curriculum, and they say, we want to be a part of that. There's some cool stuff going on in this district right now. We have the Public Service Academy, for example, where we have some young people who are going through fire safety training, and they're actually becoming some of the most sought-after young fire academy graduates in the state, and if not the nation. We have our Public Service Academy also turning out young men who want to be police officers and young women who want to be police officers. That group also has Homeland Security in it. We're talking about a number of programs. Our programs in terms of CTE, Career Technology Education, at the Washington County Technical School, they're winning national awards on a regular basis. So I think people see that and they say we want to be part of that. So it's been good. I think one last thing that I would say is that this district has changed in the last 10 years, probably in the last 4 or 5 years. In fact, we now have 50% of our employees who have under 10 years of experience. Now, on one hand, that's a difficult thing, because how do you replace that great valued experience? On the other hand, there's an energy here that is probably unlike a lot of school districts, with young teachers who are really excited about their craft. So it feels pretty good right now to be the superintendent in Washington County.
Just to follow up with what you said there, with all the different attributes of why, with the quality of life and that type of thing. At what point is the cost of living figured in that? At what point do we show on a pay scale what the pay scale actually means in Washington County because of its cost of living?
Right.
Far cheaper to live here in Frederick County, Montgomery County.
Absolutely.
So what would the problem be of attracting people from that portion of the state? They don't fight the traffic in the morning. They come west. How are we using that? I've never seen nor heard where we actually use the cost of living as a tool to attract
You'll have to
teachers.
come on one of our recruiting trips, because we absolutely do talk about that. We talk about everything from the car ride into work to what it costs to grocery shop here, what it costs you to live and work in the city as opposed to here. We talk about the quality of restaurants here, that things are turning here, and people want to be a part of that. And when we talk about some of the great restaurants downtown, like 28 South, when we talk about Bulls and Bears, when we talk about the Plum or any of those kind of restaurants, people get excited about coming here. And quite honestly, a lot of our recruits go back to human resources and say, I want to be a part of this.
I often joke with people downstate about, they have rush hour, we have rush 5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 o'clock on Franklin Street, there's a little bit of a traffic jam, but by 5:10, it's all cleared up. Well, I'm going to take the last word on that. Next up on the flip side, Interstate 81. Will we ever get around to widening it? Stay tuned. We're back in 3 minutes with that report.